The Hitler Youth, Growing Up in Hitler's Shadow by Susan Campbell BATOLETTI. Chapter 10. I cannot help but cry. The conclusion of the war. On Monday, April 30th, 1945, the Soviets have overrun Berlin and Adolf Hitler was dead. He suicided himself instead of getting there. But at this last moment, his Hitler Youth went for his last invasion invasion defense. There, they pulled up streetcars onto the bridge and blocked the bridge. And then they got ready for arms, and when they were about to see them, they got scared and found that it was suicide and dropped their guns and said, "We surrender." They were told to open a lot of tanks, which had a lot of dead bodies. There's so many dead bodies, in fact, that some of them were still standing, supported by another dead body, that is. And eventually, the Hitler Youth eventually found out that they served Hitler, the mass murderer. And as you can see here, he's crying, even though there are no teardrops. Eventually, the Germans actually realized that. And eventually, they went to the highest court that nobody actually wanted to go. There they were trialed, and most of them were sentenced to some of them went to execution, most of them went to imprisonment, and some of them went to full life sentence in prison, but then later got reduced, and some were just acquitted. Just 3 were acquitted. Eventually, the Germans were forced to watch this movie, where it's all about what Hitler did to the war. And eventually they found out, actually it had the opposite effects. Instead of boo-hoo-hoo, crying, they're like, the propaganda, no, that can't be true. But eventually it took 2 years for these Germans to realize it. This is how it works. Eventually, some people like these were arrested, and some of them actually went all the way to court to testify against their loved ones. But sometimes they were too late. Now, this is Sophie, by the way, and that boy that you just saw was her girlfriend. And he tried to acquaintance against her, but then, well, it was too late. She died. Eventually, all the Germans went out of war and they were captured. Russia and the Soviet Union wanted the Germans to suffer the same harsh terms as the Treaty of Versailles. They wanted to make them pay all the money for war reparations. They also wanted them to give up land. They also wanted the Germans to never rebuild their factories ever again. But the other allies, the USA, Great Britain, and France disagreed. They decided that instead of harsh terms to create World War III, they decided that they should get some less France. They divided Germany into 2 parts, West Germany and East Germany. The Soviet Union controlled East Germany, and West Germany got combined by the United States, Great Britain, and France into one state. Eventually, a democratic government was set up there, and West Germany became independent. But then, East Germany government became into a Soviet. So that was bad luck. But eventually they found ways to actually do this. Everything was out of touch. The Cold War started, and there was a lot of stuff that happened that I can't actually put in this video because this isn't part of the Hitler Youth. A lot of years later, West Germany and East Germany finally reunified into Germany again. And that was how it worked. They all lived happily ever after. They were able to rebuild their cities and towns, and including they were even buried their dead. Some even got reschooled, like the schooling we get nowadays. And they visited tombs, by the way. So they actually got bad scores because, first of all, they're mourning of their dead ones. So, yeah. I guess this is where I'll end this chapter 10. To be continued in the epilogue. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. If you want to learn more about this World War II and what happened after World War II and what happened to the kids in this World War II, then I would highly watch my epilogue video, which will be coming up. See you in the next episode. Shinhan out. Peace.